Hello, I'm F.D. Toth, Executive Secretary of the Georgia Professional Standards Commission. The PSC and educators in Georgia schools have the same overriding goal, and that is to do what's best for the students in our care. In most circumstances, Georgia educators are doing precisely what they're supposed to be doing, providing high-quality instruction to facilitate student learning. Some educators, however, make poor decisions. At that point, doing what is best for the students in our care requires that we closely examine the activities of these educators. The task is often unpleasant, and sometimes it requires that we make tough choices. We believe that no child should suffer physical or emotional trauma as a result of actions by adults entrusted with their care. The staff members and commissioners of the Professional Standards Commission have a personal interest in enforcing the Code of Ethics for educators in Georgia. We all have children or grandchildren who are or will be attending schools in this state. It is important to us that every child in Georgia has a positive educational experience. Our goal is to identify educators that violate the Code of Ethics and help them correct their actions, or make sure they are not in a place where their problems will harm children. The Code of Ethics for Educators was initiated by teachers and administrators throughout Georgia, providing guidelines that professional educators should follow to create a safe and effective educational environment for our children. The PSC wants to ensure that Georgia educators are aware of the professional expectations outlined in the Code of Ethics. This program and the support material on our website were designed to help accomplish that goal. We appreciate your cooperation as we work together to provide a qualified educator workforce for the state of Georgia and high student achievement in our schools. We believe you will find this presentation informative and enlightening. If you have further questions about Georgia's Code of Ethics for Educators, we're always here to answer your questions. Enjoy the presentation.
Hello and welcome. This program has been created to help you recognize and understand one of the most important components of your teaching career, what it means to be ethical as an educator. Ethical decisions and choices are a part of every life and every day. But for us as educators, the bar is even higher. What does it mean to be ethical as an educator? In Georgia, the Code of Ethical Conduct is governed by 10 standards created by the Professional Standards Commission. The code is designed to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of students and educators. A student is defined as any individual enrolled in the state's public or private schools from preschool through grade 12, or any individual between and including the ages of 3 and 17. An educator is defined as a teacher, administrator, or other personnel who holds or has applied for a PSC certificate, license, or permit. What are Georgia's 10 ethical standards and how do they apply to everyday classroom situations and teacher-student interaction? In the following program, we will take a look at each of the 10 standards. The scenes you will see are examples of actual ethical violations from PSC archives, or they may be fictitious recreations designed to dramatize the point. Why is this video presentation necessary? Well, most of the time the line between ethical and unethical behavior is clear, but sometimes the line is not so obvious. Some violations are more subtle and may surprise you when you see them. It is the goal of this program to help you expand your awareness of and understanding about Georgia's Code of Ethics. Remember, we as educators are responsible for knowing where the ethical line is in our interactions with students. And if you're ever in doubt about just where that line is, ethical behavior can be summed up in 3 simple words: do no harm. Standard 1, Criminal Acts. An educator should abide by federal, state, and local laws and statutes. Unethical conduct includes, but is not limited to, the commission or conviction of a felony or of any crime involving moral turpitude. Used in this context, conviction includes a finding or verdict of guilty, a plea of nolo contendery, a situation where first offender treatment without adjudication of guilt pursuant to the charge was granted, and a situation where an adjudication of guilt or sentence was otherwise withheld or not entered on the charge, or the charge was otherwise disposed of in a similar manner in any jurisdiction. As stated earlier, unethical conduct includes commission or conviction of a felony or any crime involving moral turpitude. What is moral turpitude? Moral turpitude, in its ordinary sense, involves the idea of baseness or vileness, shameful wickedness, or depravity. In its legal sense, it involves everything contrary to justice, honesty, modesty, or good morals. The following offenses are crimes involving moral turpitude: fraud or false pretenses in obtaining something of value, larceny or a misdemeanor theft by taking, larceny after trust, murder, soliciting for prostitutes, voluntary manslaughter, sale of narcotics or other illegal drugs, pattern of failure to file federal tax returns, criminal issuance of a bad check, making a false report of a crime. In Georgia, the test for whether a felony is one involving moral turpitude is, does the crime, disregarding its felony punishment, meet the test as being contrary to justice, honesty, modesty, good morals, or man's duty to man? For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 2, Abuse of Students. An educator should always maintain a professional relationship with all students inside and outside of the classroom.
Class, I knew you were stupid the minute you came in here, but these tests...
Unethical conduct includes, but is not limited to, 1. Committing any act of child abuse, physical or verbal.
You're one of the reasons I regret becoming a teacher.
I told you to take the dadgum dive. Will you take the dive? Come on.
2. Committing any act of cruelty to children or any act of child endangerment.
Where are you going?
What are you doing?
Go back and sit down.
Get off of
Sit in
me.
your chair.
What are you
Sit
doing? You're a
down
teacher. You can't
now.
do that.
I'm in charge of the...
Dear Jason,
3. Committing or soliciting any sexual act.
I think you're a very handsome young man. You're such a smart and fun guy. You would be a great boyfriend. Love, your teacher, Mrs. Smith.
4. Engaging in harassing behavior on the basis of race, gender, sex, national origin, religion, or disability.
Miss Jones, it's a part of my religion.
No hats in school. Can't you just fit in?
Hey, Holly. I've been meaning to talk to you about your grade.
5. Soliciting, encouraging, or consummating an inappropriate written, verbal, or physical relationship with a student.
What do you say tonight? At the Java House. Alone? Alone? Alone?
6. Furnishing tobacco, alcohol, illegal, or unauthorized drugs to any student. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 3, Alcohol or drugs. An educator should refrain from the use of alcohol or illegal or unauthorized drugs during the course of professional practice. Unethical behavior includes, but is not limited to: 1. Being on school premises or at a school-related activity involving students while under the influence of possessing, using, or consuming illegal or unauthorized drugs.
Read the paragraph, answer the questions, and do not get out of your seat.
In this recreation of an actual event, this educator kept a cup on her desk filled with vodka, often drinking to the point of passing out during class. Number 2. Being on school premises or at a school-related activity involving students while documented as being under the influence of, possession of, or consuming alcoholic beverages. A school-related activity includes, but is not limited to, any activity sponsored by the school or school system. In this recreation, a high school teacher has scheduled an off-site after-school practice session of the debate club.
Everybody put that down right now. I cannot even believe what I'm seeing.
When she arrives, she discovers that one of the students has brought alcohol and is in the process of serving it to the other students. Her educator oath obligates her to put an end to the party and to censor the students. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 4. Misrepresentation or falsification. An educator should exemplify honesty and integrity in the course of professional practice. Unethical conduct includes, but is not limited to: 1. Falsifying, misrepresenting, omitting, or erroneously reporting professional qualifications, criminal history, college or staff development credit, and/or degrees, academic award, and employment history when applying for employment and/or certification, or when recommending an individual for employment, promotion, or certification. 2. Falsifying, misrepresenting, omitting, or erroneously reporting information submitted to federal, state, and other government agencies. In this scene, the special ed teacher finds herself in summer vacation without having obtained the required signatures for this IEP form. With parents and other educators out of town and difficult to contact, she makes a choice that puts her in violation of Standard 4. Three, falsifying, misrepresenting, omitting, or erroneously reporting information regarding the evaluation of students and/or personnel. In this scene, an educator prompts a student to change an incorrect answer on a standardized test. Four, falsifying, misrepresenting, omitting, or erroneously reporting reasons for absence of leave.
I've had this before, and it's only going to get worse if I don't go home. I already filled out my sick form, so all you got to do is sign it.
All right, well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Five, falsifying, misrepresenting, omitting, or erroneously reporting information submitted in the course of an official inquiry or investigation. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 5. Public Funds and Property. An educator entrusted with public funds and property should honor that trust with a high level of honesty, accuracy, and responsibility. Unethical conduct includes, but is not limited to: 1. Misusing public or school-related funds, and 2. Failing to account for funds collected from students or parents. 3. Submitting fraudulent requests for reimbursement of expenses or for pay. In this scene, the educator has already received a travel advance for airfare, but when submitting post-conference expense forms, he fraudulently requests reimbursement for miles driven to and from the same conference. 4. Commingling public or school-related funds with personal funds or checking account. In this scene, the educator is purchasing supplies for science camp, but purchases personal items with the same money, thus commingling personal and public purchases and funds.
Hey guys, it's me again, and I'm here, as you know from my emails, to solicit...
5. Using school property without the approval of the local Board of Education or governing board.
Matter of fact, if you contribute today, I'm prepared to offer you half a day off. That's half a day to anybody who's willing to contribute today. So please...
Here, the principal is soliciting his faculty while on school property to contribute to a non-school related cause and illegally promising paid time off. Any computer provided by the school is considered public property. Accessing inappropriate websites or using the computer for non-school related correspondence also constitutes abuse of Standard 5. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 6. Improper remunerative conduct. An educator should maintain integrity with students, colleagues, parents, patrons, or businesses when accepting gifts, gratuities, favors, and additional compensation. Unethical conduct includes but is not limited to 1. Soliciting students or parents of students to purchase equipment, supplies, or services from the educator or to participate in activities that financially benefit the educator unless approved by the local Board of Education or governing board.
John has brought in his Beanie Babies class. For extra credit, bring me more Beanie Babies.
In this recreation of an actual event, an educator accepted Beanie Babies in exchange for extra credit points. 2. Accepting gifts from vendors or potential vendors for personal use or gain where there may be the appearance of a conflict of interest.
And I know that AFL Family Life Insurance can bring that peace and security to your life. And as a small token of my appreciation for letting me speak with each of you today and seeing you, I have hickory smoked hams for each of you.
The gift offered to this group of principals is a violation of Standard 6. 3. Tutoring students assigned to the educator for remuneration unless approved by the local Board of Education or governing board or superintendent.
Good job.
In this recreation, a private music lesson takes place on school property with compensation going directly to the teacher. Such arrangements must receive prior approval by the local Board of Education.
Did Mom get the message about the price change for the lessons for $50?
Oh yeah, here we go.
Great, thanks. I'll see you next week.
4. Coaching, instructing, promoting athletic camps, summer leagues, and so forth that involve students in an educator's school system and from whom the educator receives remuneration.
Now, the cost is $100. So everybody that's going to be in summer camp, you need to give me $100 by the end of the week.
Unless approved by the local Board of Education, governing board, or the superintendent. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 7. Confidential information. An educator should comply with state and federal laws and local school board, governing board policies relating to the confidentiality of student and personnel records, standardized test material, and other information covered by confidentiality agreements. Unethical conduct includes but is not limited to 1. Sharing of confidential information concerning student academic and disciplinary records, personal confidences, health and medical information, family status and/or income, and assessment and/or testing results unless disclosure is required or permitted by law. In the following recreation, 2 teachers are inappropriately discussing student test results while at a private party. They are also overheard by the student's mother.
Well, everybody did really well except for Brooke. She
that's
barely
surprising.
squeaked by on this test.
Wow, well, I heard that her parents are having problems, so maybe that's what's going on with her.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
I
And she's
hadn't
not
heard
doing well
that.
in English, and I've heard some other things about math.
2. Sharing of confidential information restricted by state or federal law. Here, a principal has asked one of his educators for a copy of another educator's file from another school, but personnel file information can only be shared with the permission and/or knowledge of its owner. 3. Violation of confidentiality agreements related to standardized testing, including copying or teaching identified test items, publishing or distributing test items or answers, discussing test items, violating local school system or state directions for the use of tests or test items. For example, distributing copies of the test questions ahead of time, distributing confidential information such as vocabulary lists or test questions via a website. 4. Violation of other confidentiality agreements required by state or local policy. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 8. Abandonment of contract. An educator should fulfill all of the terms and obligations detailed in the contract with the local Board of Education or education agency for the duration of the contract. Unethical conduct includes but is not limited to 1. Abandoning the contract for professional services without prior release from the contract by the employer. 2. Willfully refusing to perform the services required by the contract. For example, using material in the classroom that does not fall within performance standard guidelines without prior notification to and permission of the administration.
Miss Jackson, I'm going to need to see you in the hallway. Not a word. These conversations with you.
Well,
you have a job to do. You know to do it.
Well, I'm sick of this. I've just had enough. Just leave it.
For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 9. Failure to make a required report. An educator should file a report of a breach of one or more of the standards in the Code of Ethics for Educators, child abuse, or any other required report. Unethical conduct includes, but is not limited, to 1. Failure to report all requested information on documents required by the Commission when applying for or renewing any certificate with the Commission.
The only other thing I need from you is a list of previous employers and contact numbers.
No, I'm not going to provide that.
2. Failure to make a required report of a violation of one or more standards of the Code of Ethics for Educators, of which they have personal knowledge as soon as possible, but no later than 90 days from the date the educator became aware of the breach, unless the law or local procedures require reporting sooner. In this recreation, the educator observes a colleague making inappropriate advances to a student.
I'll have you back in plenty of time anyway.
Miss Robertson, Mr. Blanchard keeps backing me into corners in the hallway when no one else is around, and he'll hit on me, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable. And you're my teacher, so I trust you, and I know you'll let me know what to do because I don't know what to do.
You should just stay away from him. Stay away from him. Stay away from him.
State law requires that suspected abuse be reported immediately. In other words, the same day the information is received.
Properly, so if you would, go ahead and open.
3. Failure to make a required report of any violation of state or federal law, as soon as possible, but no later than 90 days from the date the educator became aware of an alleged breach, unless local procedures or the law require reporting sooner.
Can I see you out in the hallway for a moment? Rebecca, how did you get those bruises?
No, Miss Jones, can you just leave me alone about it?
I'm just very concerned for you, and I don't want...
If you suspect abuse, you are obligated to report it immediately. If you suspect violation that does not involve abuse, you have 90 days to make a report. These reports include, but are not limited to, murder, voluntary manslaughter, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, kidnapping, any sexual offense, and any sexual exploitation of a minor, any offense involving a controlled substance, and any abuse of a child if an educator has reasonable cause to believe that child has been abused. Once again, if you suspect neglect or exploitation, physical injury or abuse, sexual abuse, or sexual exploitation, you are required to make an oral report immediately by telephone or otherwise. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. Standard 10, Professional Conduct. By now, you have spent some time becoming familiar with Georgia's Standards of Conduct for Educators, the Code of Ethics as set forth by the Professional Standards Commission. Remember that the code serves as a guide to ethical conduct. It's unrealistic to expect this presentation to cover every potential infraction or situation. The last standard, number 10, is called Professional Conduct. While no specific violations are cited here, the intent of the standard is clear. We, as educators, are responsible for our own decisions and choices about our conduct inside of and away from the classroom, wherever students are involved. Your own good judgment is the best standard of all. Standard 10 reads, an educator should demonstrate conduct that follows generally recognized professional standards. Unethical conduct is any conduct that impairs the certificate holder's ability to function professionally in his or her employment position.
And this is a little something that's called gambling.
We, as educators, are charged with a sacred trust, the education and well-being of our future citizens. And we are responsible for knowing where the ethical line is in our interaction with students. Teaching is a wonderful profession with many rewards. Now that you have a clear understanding of Georgia's ethical standards, you have another tool to use in creating a rewarding and safe educational environment for you and your students. If you're ever in doubt about where the line is, remember, ethical behavior can be defined in 3 simple words. Do no harm. Thanks for watching. For more information on Georgia's Ethics for Educators, visit the PSC website at www.gapsc.com. If you have witnessed an ethics violation, what do? You are bound as a certified educator to report any violations in local school policy or any violation observed as set forth by the PSC. So what's the first step? Your school district's administration or board will handle issues related to local school policy and procedures. The Commission does not have jurisdiction over local issues. Complaints that go directly to the PSC involve any behavior that deviates from the 10 ethical standards as explained earlier in other portions of this program. Specifically, 1. Alleged violations by an educator of any law of this state pertaining to educators or the profession of education. 2. Alleged violations by an educator of the Code of Ethics of the Commission. 3. Alleged violations by an educator of rules, regulations, or policies of the State Board of Education. Complaints filed with the PSC also involve reports of specified criminal conduct. All right, you believe you have a complaint to file with the PSC. What do? Be aware that there is a time factor involved in the reporting of an ethical violation. If you observe a violation or suspect a violation, you have 90 days to make a report. Any individual resident of the state of Georgia may report criminal or unethical behavior by an educator by submitting a request for investigation, also called a complaint, in writing to Educator Ethics Division, Georgia Professional Standards Commission, 2 Peachtree Street, Suite 6000, Atlanta, Georgia 30303. Requests should include the name of the educator, where they reside or are employed, specific details of the allegations, and the name, address, and signature of the individual requesting the investigation. The PSC website provides forms you can download to use in filing your complaint. These are called General Complaint Form and Testing Violation Complaint Form. If you are uncertain, choose the General Complaint Form. The Commission considers complaints at its regular monthly meeting during the second week of the month. The PSC will notify you in writing whether or not the Commission has voted to investigate your complaint. For more information about the complaint process, consult the PSC website at www.gapsc.com.